All right, my friends, Eddie from Totally Wired Guitars here, and I've got another fun shootout here for you today, and that is a battle of the modern Mustangs. And on my right here, I've got a Squier Sonic Mustang, basically the cheapest Mustang that Fender / Squier is producing. And I have a very similar upgraded model in Fender's Player 2 Mustang. So I'm very, very curious to see how these two compare. Obviously, the Squier is meant to be a very entry-level kind of student or beginner instrument, or maybe perfect for somebody who wants to use it as a very cheap modding platform, whereas the Player 2 Mustang is intended to be out of the box, you know, a gigging guitar, one that both beginners and professionals can play. And so, yeah, despite the fact that there is a pretty significant price difference between the two, I am curious to see how they stack up against each other with regards to overall quality, sound, feel, and as always, I'll be sharing what I think both of these guitars could potentially need to make them play their best. Before anything else, I just wanted to thank the kind folks at Zounds for inviting me recently to their Creator Partner Program, and they were nice enough to send both of these guitars to me on loan today for me to review for you all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start off by unboxing the Squier. So full disclosure here, I've actually never played one of these before. I did recommend one to my nephew who got interested in playing guitar recently. I think he's about 14 or 15 years old. It was a nice cheap birthday present that his parents could get for him. And I think he's loving it so far. So I'm very, very curious to see what I recommended. I just figured that this was a pretty bare bones type of easy guitar to get into, a good alternative to a Stratocaster, and the fact that it's billed as a lightweight and simple guitar was the biggest reason that I recommended it to him. So standard Squier fare here. We've got a little bag with our Allen keys for adjusting the bridge and the truss rod. And then we've got the guitar itself, which is, as always with Squier, most of the time, I don't think that there are any Squiers that ship in a gig bag, at least not modern Squiers. And yeah, oh boy, this is really, really light. This is crazy light. And here it is. Ooh, very nice. All right, so we've got the little foam, styrofoam thing to cover and protect the three-way toggle switch. We've got our little hang tags that we're gonna take off right now. And yeah, this guitar is mega out of tune, so that's to be expected. But very quickly, before we do anything else, let's go ahead and cover the basic specs of this Squier Sonic Mustang. So this has a poplar body and a very, very lightweight one, I might add. It has a gloss polyurethane finish for the body, as well as a satin polyurethane finish on the back. This has two ceramic single coil pickups with a three-way toggle switch, no other added, you know, phase switches or anything. So very, very bare bones. You've got your bridge position when it is flicked all the way towards the bridge, then both pickups in parallel, and then you've got your neck pickup. And then it has the simple volume and tone controls, as well as your input jack. All of the electronics in here are import spec, kind of budget, eco tier electronics, so nothing to write home about. This also features a hardtail bridge with the bigger block saddles that are kind of iconic if you've ever played Squiers back in the day. Now, moving on to the neck, this thing has a nice, slim kind of C shape to it with narrow, tall frets. It is a short scale guitar, so 24-inch scale here with a synthetic bone nut, and we have sealed modern style tuners here with 2 string trees. I think that about covers it. This feels insanely lightweight, like it must be 6 pounds or something. Now, just initial feel, before I even tune the thing, I think the biggest thing that stands out to me right now is I unfortunately do feel a bunch of fret sprout on this thing. So I imagine that if you get one of these and you want it to play its best, you know, you are definitely going to have to give it the old 1-2, if you will. If you have guitar tools, guitar repair tools at home, running a file over the edge here after taping it off will help to take down some of that fret sprout. I'm not sure of the condition of the frets themselves yet. The nut appears to be cut to standard, very budget spec, but nothing just upon first visual glance here seems to be problematic. So let's go ahead and tune this bad boy up and see how it feels to play. So I am just using my handy dandy little Polytune clip, my little tuner of choice to get things dialed in very quickly. The tuners are, you know, budget spec. They are very quick, not really tight, but also they are very responsive. And I'm not really getting any slippage here. So definitely not the worst. So looking at the orientation of these big block saddles themselves, it does appear that indeed some semblance of intonation has been done on this guitar. And these are really, really light gauge strings. I do not know why Fender continues to ship their short scale guitars with 9-gauge strings, not doing the overall feel, in my personal opinion, any favors, but it's perfectly serviceable, you know, at this time, and definitely would help, especially if you have someone like, you know, a tween or a younger teen, or somebody with smaller hands who is receiving this as their first instrument. That definitely helps to lower the overall barriers for, you know, the growing pains of learning how to play guitar. And yeah, this actually feels fairly comfortable to me from the factory here. It's set to a medium lowish action, very comfortable overall, and I'm not getting any buzzing anywhere on the fretboard here, which is pleasantly surprising. Yeah, actually, that's pretty damn good. I hope my nephew ended up getting one that was similarly set up, because yeah, this actually feels pretty nice and fun and playable and very, very light, which is, again, awesome. So we're just going to double check very, very quickly with regards to radius. I'm just going to use, because I don't feel like setting this up on the table right now, so I just want to see. You can use over the string gauges, right? I'm not doing any precision work right now, so I'm just double checking to see if we're in the ballpark. And you can see just how light this thing. I feel like I could hold this thing up with one finger. And indeed, yep, we've got a perfect 9.5-inch radius dialed in here. So I feel like the quality control, and again, I can't really ding them for the fret sprout, because as I've said to you all in previous videos, that can happen on even the most expensive guitars. This one appears to have been produced in 2024, so it's been sitting in its box for well over a year now. We don't know what conditions it was kept in, but that is just a natural occurrence that happens when the environment changes. Air gets drier, colder, and the wood ends up shrinking, and so you get the fret protrusions out the side. And again, for somebody at least like myself, that is something that can easily be addressed and also shouldn't be overall that expensive if that is the only issue that you have with the guitar. I have not yet checked how level the frets are on this, but I will do that separately and report back because watching me take a fret rocker to this guitar is not the most interesting thing to watch. So let's go ahead and plug this bad boy in and see what it sounds like. I don't really have high expectations of the ceramic pickups that are in here, but again, I'm willing to be pleasantly surprised, like with the rest of this guitar so far. Very, very chimey sound. You know, it's not bad, actually. They've got some grit to them. Set up on my Princeton, going through the aux right now. They're a bit hot. So far, everything is feeling pretty good. Better, actually, than I was expecting. I'm not going to lie, I was expecting this to be way worse than it is. And I am, again, pleasantly surprised. We haven't even stretched these 9-gauge strings out yet. But because this is a hardtail, you know, you can kind of get away with it on this guitar, I'm finding. So maybe I shouldn't poo-poo on the 9s. You know, I am someone that has become way more open-minded over time with regards to string gauges and such. You know, I put 9s on my Troy Van Leeuwen Jazzmaster a year or two ago and was able to make even that work. This one, though, I thought it was going to be a bit more challenging because this is a short scale guitar, and you know, the typical sort of sage wisdom, if you will, is that you want to use at least 10s on these because 10s feel like 9s, 11s feel like 10s, and so on and so forth. So, but this feels, because of the way that they've set this up, it actually feels pretty nice. I am curious to see what kind of read I get on these pickups. So I'm just going to quickly attach a little patch cable here, okay, and get a read on how hot the pickups are, because they sound hot, but it might just be the ceramic pickups. They definitely don't sound as hot as the American Pro Jaguar that I recently reviewed, which was just immediately making my amp cook at the same settings where it's normally fairly clean when I use my other vintage style Jaguars and Jazzmasters. So I've got my little multimeter here, and with the volume and tone all the way up on just the bridge pickup, I am getting a read of, oh, not hot at all. 5.95 on the bridge pickup. Okay, so I think the harshness kind of that I'm hearing comes down to the ceramic magnets that they use. These are cheap pickups, but again, especially for a beginner, this is not something that is that big of a deal. That nuance is not something that I feel like most beginners are going to be able to pick up on, right? And for the neck pickup, we are getting about 5.5K. So 5.9K and 5.5K. Those are essentially vintage output Mustang pickups, right? Most of the pickups that I have experienced from the mid to later 60s have been in that kind of 5-6K range. So they are vintage output, but they just don't sound as smooth as your, Alnico 5 pickups that would come standard in more expensive or more premium quality Mustangs, which is kind of ironic because Mustangs from their inception were meant to be student grade or beginner grade guitars. So let's go ahead and play through just a little bit more, and I think maybe we're going to keep it clean today. Overall, check the tuning stability on this. There's no tremolo to be fiddling around with, so it's very, very streamlined. And yeah, so I'll give my final thoughts after we play through just a little bit more clean. That neck pickup is it's a little on the muddy side, I would say. We are having a little bit of detuning here. Let's get ourselves a strap here, shall we? So because we're doing a kind of beginner guitar, let's get ourselves that tried and true. I feel like for many of us, when we got our first Fenders, rocked one of these Fender straps for a while, right? Let's go ahead and check our tuning very quick now, right? Again, we haven't stretched our strings yet, which is definitely my recommendation when you're getting a new guitar. If you want to go the extra mile, I definitely would replace these strings. I feel like a set of 10s would just feel better, but these are all right. So our tuning is going out a little bit, but not a lot. And if I take a look here, no, doesn't seem like our low E is sticking, so probably just needs to be stretched clearly. So actually, let's go ahead and just stretch these strings a bit. Okay? Easy enough to do. And even though there's no vibrato on this, I feel like I would still, if this was my guitar that I was keeping, I would probably still add a little bit of lubrication at the nut slots for when you're doing your bends. All right, did a little bit of a string stretching. So now let's go ahead and just play some other stuff. The intonation, because I'm sensitive to this kind of stuff, does sound a little off to me, ever so slightly. And I don't know if it's because the pickups are too high right now, because pickups being too high can definitely mess with your intonation. But let's just go ahead and might as well check. Right, so now I am using my strobo clip from Peterson and check the intonation now. So pretty damn sharp on that low E there. These just use a screwdriver, so I'm just going to go ahead and intonate it very quickly. Do the nice thing for the next person that actually gets this guitar. I don't know if they end up selling these as open boxes or what, but I'm hearing the notes oscillate a bit, and so the reason for that is because the pickups are just a tad too high. So I'm just going to lower the pickups just 2 turns each and see if we can kind of mitigate that a bit. You definitely don't want your pickups to be oscillating. That's better. That sounds way better to me. All right, bridge pickup. Cool. Let's hit it with a little bit of reverb just from the amp here. Neck pickup. Middle pickup. Neck pickup. Staying on that bridge. All right, so now that we've had a chance to play this thing, my final thoughts is that overall, again, very, very pleasantly surprised by this. It definitely is a beginner grade model for sure, but the things that you usually associate with cheap, such as poor performance and all of that, are not present here, shockingly. Now, the pickups definitely leave a bit to be desired. They are within the realm of vintage Mustang flavor, not as clean as vintage Mustang pickups are, likely because of the ceramic magnets, even though they are vintage spec in their output and overall like low output pickups. They still sound a bit gritty through my Fender Princeton, and some folks might like that. It would be good for like punk rock music or any music where you're using a bunch of distortion. But you can already tell though at this point that these ceramic pickups do lack a certain amount of definition and nuance overall, and they just sound pretty aggressive to me. The nut is done overall pretty well. Obviously, stretching these strings helped to keep it in better tune. The tuners are okay. The tuning was definitely not great before we stretched these strings, and also eventually found out that the intonation on this was quite a bit off. It just sounded off to my ears. I'm super sensitive to intonation type stuff, so I dialed in the intonation just very quickly. Wasn't super meticulous about it, but enough to the point where it sounded okay to my ears. So who would I recommend this for? I definitely recommend it for folks who are beginners, who are looking to just get into guitar, maybe a gift for a one of your children. It's great for that purpose. I also would recommend this to folks who want a kind of fun little beater project guitar. It's definitely a fun little guitar to play. I could see it sounding a lot better if you upgrade the pickups at minimum. As far as the fretwork is concerned, I did take this to the table and ran the fret rocker, and I only found about 4 or 5 high spots in the fretboard, which is actually really friggin' good considering that this is a $230 guitar. So I'm happy to report that overall the quality control for Squier over the past few years is definitely pretty good. I'll be able to more definitively say after reviewing a couple more guitars straight out of the box, but based on the few that I have been playing so far, I have been impressed with the overall quality control that I have been seeing. And so the only things that this for me would really need is to address those sharp fret ends, which is easy enough. You can look up tutorials on YouTube on how to do it. And again, this is a fairly cheap guitar with a very, very thinly finished satin urethane neck, so you don't have to worry about, like, you know, botching a really nice tinted glossy finish, because it's basically the color almost of the raw wood underneath. And so yeah, I think that's my final thoughts on this. Do I recommend this guitar? I think for 230 bucks, if you are looking for a cheap guitar for any reason, this is a fun and really kind of bare bones Mustang to play. The sounds definitely are in the ballpark of that, you know, iconic Mustang flavor, if not a bit grittier because of these ceramic pickups, and everything else is economy level, right? So it could stand to be improved if you wanted to, you know, throw a little bit of money and or effort towards it. I could see this going from a pretty good cheap beginner guitar to an even better one. Next time, I will be unboxing the Player 2 Mustang. Again, very, very similar in specs to this with regards to the overall hardtail Mustang kind of flavor. There are definitely some differences between the two models, so I will be sort of giving you a direct comparison after I get a chance to play that. And then after putting it through the paces, much like this one, I'm going to let you know whether I recommend that Player 2 and whether it's worth the additional, you know, $500-600 that it is over this one. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative, especially if you've been on the hunt for the perfect little cheap hardtail Mustang. If you are interested in picking one of these up, I highly recommend that you get it from the kind folks over at Zounds. They have a number of different configurations, ones with rosewood fretboards and a lot of different colors, and I think they even make a model that has humbuckers. And the great thing about Zounds is they do no credit checks or background checks. They don't even need your social security number, and they just have a really easy, pain-free application process to be able to split up your payments absolutely interest-free. So for example, for this one, you can get this and split it up into 6 easy payments of about $38.50, which is amazing. Yeah, they have just been always great about any kind of returns if any issues ever come up, and they have really fast and awesome customer service. And so thank you again to the kind folks at Zounds for sending this over for review. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to be notified of new videos as soon as they drop. And if you like this channel and want to help my videos reach more folks, definitely please take the time to hype up this video using YouTube's new hype feature. It supposedly helps videos reach a lot more people. And as always, don't forget to follow Totally Wired Guitars for more offset guitars buying tips.